everyone, this is Sophie from Pixel Marketing. I'm very glad to announce this new YouTube series topic, Pixelhue in Focus. We're going to discuss a lot of interesting topics like the showcase that we worked with our clients in different locations, different regions, different countries, and also the new technologies that will be implemented in our products, and also some new technologies in the future in this market as well. There can be a lot of topics. And today I'm very excited to invite the Pixel team members. We have Alan and Vincent joining us here. And most importantly, I want to thank you and also introduce you guys, our close friends and also local USA distributors M2 Events Group, to joining our first ever episode of the Pixelhue in Focus YouTube series. So let me just have a quick introduction about whoever has been part of this show today. M2 Events from Noman. Hi, Noman.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, can you introduce just a little bit about yourself, maybe?
Sure. So my name's Nauman. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for M2 Events Group, and essentially I work with Roy, Sophie, Vincent, all the engineers for Pixel to essentially deliver high quality shows and also make their lives miserable by asking them to keep building bigger event engines and keep making really great gear. So I get to push these guys to deliver high quality essentially switchers and screen management tools so that we can execute really big shows.
Yeah. Thank you, Noma, for joining us today. And we have Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, my name is Jeff Egan. I was recently on a show using the Pixelhue Q8 and U5 Pro video switcher and console, and it was a great experience. It was the first one. It was terrifying, but with the help of a lot of talented people, I was able to get through that big show and make it a success.
Thank you, Jeff, for joining us. And from Pixel team, we have three gentlemen online. Let's start by alphabetically, Alan.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alan, Solution Engineer of Pixelhue team. I will take care of your Pixelhue business from pre-sales to after-sales. So anyway, I'm a kind of Pixelhue guard for you guys. No matter what problems you are facing, you could just shout my name and I will come.
Thank you, Alan, for joining us today. And next one will be Roy. Yeah, Roy.
Okay. And hi, this is Roy, the salesperson. I'm in charge of the southeast part of the United States. So I'll provide any kinds of service for Pixelhue if you require. So thank you.
And next we have Vincent joining us here today. So Vincent, can you tell us your role in Pixelhue?
Hi everyone, I'm Vincent, the product manager from R&D team of Pixelhue. I'm in charge of presentation switchers like Q8 P series and live consoles like U5 Pros. I'm really excited to hear and chat with you guys.
Yeah. So what type of products that you developed?
Switcher, live console, yeah.
Can you name the products?
Q8, U5 Pro, okay. And P series.
Okay.
P30.
P30.
Oh yeah, P30.
That'll be in the future plans for our show. So Noman, can I ask some questions about what type of can you introduce a little bit more about the M2 events? What type of shows or what type of business that you normally do?
Yeah, so essentially M2 Events Group comprises of three companies in the US. We have Big Picture, which is a pre-production, post-production video editing team out of San Francisco or in the Bay Area up in California. They basically handle all of our media for shooting for Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. Then we have Directions AV, which basically does a lot of our corporate shows in the country, Also has a bunch of Fortune 100 and 500 companies in their list of clients, and they do all of our in-house video production services as well for walk-ins, video editing, and stuff like that. And so Directions AV also handles a lot of the large screen indoor corporate shows where we use new Row graphite tiles, disguised media servers, so pretty much everything in the corporate world. And then Music Matters out of Atlanta also handles our festival division, and so they basically go up and down the East Coast with a bunch of different clients where they will do, weekend festivals for Shaking Knees, Something in the Water, a lot of big festivals in the country, See Here Now. So M2 Events is basically comprised of those three companies, and so depending on which clienteles we're working with, they'll use all three. Sometimes they'll use one, but essentially it's just putting us all under an umbrella of pick and play on your services that you need to deliver, whether it's one really big show for corporate where they're like, hey, we have an evening program where we need a festival, but then we also have, their general session keynote for their employees, and then a bunch of video editing services on site for B-roll and stuff like that. So we kind of just made a one large umbrella to kind of deliver a seamless experience to our end clients.
Oh, that seems a lot of things. So Roy, where did you find Nomad? Where did you find M2 as?
The first time we met, I think is the 2022 LDI. The first time Norman saw that big guy Q8. That's still the demo period.
Yeah, I remember
And,
LDI 2022. It's actually the very, very first time that we officially placed the products in one of the trade shows, like major trade shows in USA, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and that's where you guys met.
Yeah, that's the first time. And then we just worked together from the 2023 NAB at Infocom, and the first time M2 used the Q8 in their project. And then earlier this year, M2 became our local distributor, and we started the partnership together.
It seems like a really long stories that we can tell
Yeah,
in the future, right?
it's around 2 years. It's a long run.
I will say I was skeptical when I first saw it. I just walked by, at LDI, and I was like, there's no way this thing works. It's like there's so much HDMI and DisplayPort and SDI on it. There's no way they're doing this. And I vaguely remember that essentially Max and I walked by and we're like, all right, we'll look into this if they're around next year. And at that time we were also looking for a new screen management system because essentially we were not running into issues, but we had a lot of points of failure where we were stacking 6 or 7 Barco E2s on every show, and reliability was starting to become a concern. And so we were looking for just a larger screen switching system that could handle a lot more 4K inputs and outputs, because we upgraded all of our cameras to the Panasonic UC4000s, and so we're dealing with 12G SDI signals coming from each camera, and then we're also dealing with Disguise bringing in 4, 8, 12, 16 4Ks from VX4 Plus servers, and so it was just like we need to find a better workflow. And I walked by and I was like, whoa, does this work?
That's where our journeys began, right?
Yeah.
So some questions was Jeff.
Yeah.
So how long have you been working in this industry?
I have been in the live event industry since 2001. I've been working Music Matters is new to me, but I've been working with Big Picture and Directions AV out of Chicago and San Francisco, I guess Oakland area more or less, since 2011. So the very first freelance gig I ever did was August of 2011 with Directions AV. So it's been a long journey between me and them. So yeah, I've been doing this for quite some time now. I'm probably the old guy on this panel.
Jeff, I was in middle school when you were.
Oh, that's great. That makes me feel even better.
I was very afraid to say that. For us, we're like in elementary school, 2001, right?
Yeah, I was in
2000.
kindergarten.
And Alan was born.
Yeah, I
That's
just
amazing.
born.
That's amazing. I'm glad
Yeah.
this is conversations divulged in that.
Yeah, yeah. But this Pixel bring us together, I think.
Yeah, it sure has.
Yeah.
It's a generational product, right? I mean, even the Q8 is designed to be a 10-year box, and so I think it just kind of shows that like young blood, new blood, old blood, everyone's able to use the Q8 and the U5 Pro seamlessly. I mean, Jeff, I know we're going to touch on this in a little bit, but experience-wise, it's pretty modern when it comes to the design and the interface. So it's actually easy to target as far as learning the software, learning PixelFlow with offline editor, and then just kind of using it on site. It's really not a painful experience at all. So it's nice.
It's not a painful experience at all. I mean, I've used it exactly one time as of right now. But yeah, I mean, what I know on it is all, you know, I came up to directions and sat through the 1-day training course, and then kind of pretty much, you know, took it upon myself to go down to Atlanta and just basically pull it out of the box and punch around on the buttons. And, you know, I didn't find it difficult to learn anything on my own at all. So, you know, it was intimidating going and sitting down at you know, like you said, we'll touch on it later, the apartment show, but you know, I had Roy sitting right behind me, so how bad could it be?
Yeah, Roy will solve everything, right? Roy will find the right person to solve everything. So let's talk just a little bit. Jeff, you just mentioned that on the National Apartment Association's annual conference, this is actually the core topics that we want to discuss, because I know that with M2 we have already maximized Q8 for 3 times already. And I would say the NAA, this annual show, would be, I would say, a big, like an example or a case that we can really study on. So can you tell us about what's the show about? Yeah, Jeff or Norman?
I can give you a brief. Nauman probably knows a little bit more than me, but it's basically, correct me if I'm wrong, lots of different apartment associations coming together, kind of making, kind of seeing how each other work, what kind of services the apartments can use, whether it's, you know, I think there was anywhere from maintenance to dog sitting or dog parks, and then there was a live, you know, you could pet a dog if you wanted to just outside of the room. So I just think it's a lot of different things that a lot of different apartment associations, you know, use or you know, they get together and they discuss how to improve upon the, you know, the apartment situation from anywhere from A to Z. So
So this seems to be like very quite large and big shows, right? Yeah. And it starts. They have
a very large show
every year. When did they start this?
Every year, and basically they have a couple different meetings, but Apartmentalized is their like biggest show. Essentially, it's their expo. It's got their general session keynote, and it brings somewhere around 10,000 people, sometimes more, to whichever city they decide. I think we're in Vegas next year. So it basically allows everyone to kind of collectively gather, and then they have trainings, education courses, and an expo where they bring in exhibitors for, you know, locks and, like Jeff was saying, dog parks and everything that you could possibly need for your apartment complex or your townhouse complex maintenance, you know, locks, door handles, cabinets, everything, you know, kitchen appliances, all that fun stuff. Home Depot, it's like renovation stuff. And then they have massive general session keynotes where they have inspiring talks. They talk through the industry, where the industry's going. I don't know, Jeff, you pay attention more on the modules than I do. I mean, sometimes I zone out because we do so many shows, but
I think the expo floor is where all the real stuff takes place. I feel like the general session room is a big pep rally, and to get everybody together and to kind of get them involved and get them hyped for what they're going to learn in, I don't know if they have breakout rooms or, like you say, the expo hall, but it's more, I feel like the rooms that I'm in are generally, specifically at this show, are more about just kind of the team and like I said, the gathering of people that have similar interests.
So what's your role in this big, huge project?
So yeah, my role on NAA, or the National Apartment Association show, was as the Pixelhue Q8 operator. Basically, I was taking all the inputs, whether it be from the disguise or from playback machines or even prompter, and just distributing those, throughout the event space on downstage monitors, the LED wall, screens, anywhere that someone may need to see a particular signal.
And Noah, maybe tell us about your big role in this NNA show.
Yeah, it's a very loaded question because it seems like I do a lot of stuff,
Is
but
it
really
everything?
yeah, it's a little bit of everything. The day job is to make sure the gear works, but the on-site job is also the project management, the logistics, the making sure everyone is working together to kind of deliver in the space and making the space look really good between the audio and lighting. You want the clarity all the way in the back of the room, visuals on site. This show was actually very interesting because our new row tiles delivered directly to site because of timeline, and so this one was a little bit nerve-wracking. So it was kind of just managing all the logistics for getting the trucks in, getting the gear together, making sure everyone had what they needed to deliver a flawless experience to end clients and everyone that's seated in the audience. Because I think we easily had 7,500 people sitting at any given point, even more sometimes. I know there was a couple keynote speakers that came out, and the house was packed. And so you want to make sure that we have visual and audio clarity across the board from the front to the back of the room. So just making sure that we deliver and check off all the boxes that we've kind of pre-pro'd and worked with the client to make sure that they're happy with. So just, yeah, putting it all together.
Okay. I have a question for you guys. So what kind of Pixelhue gear you used in this show? And how was the performance of those gears?
On this show we used two Q8s. That's a very interesting question because, we also did all the workshops, and workshops were handled with a couple P20s. So, they had two projectors and screens, a couple downstage monitors being fed from the auxes. And so they were using P20s and U5s, kind of your simple breakout room type deals. And then the main stage was using two Q8s. One was for processing and conversions, and a second Q8 for all screen management, and then a U5 Pro to control both. So, just over a 1 gig network, we had control over both Q8s.
Okay, so for this kind of giant show, you only use like two Q8 to drive the whole show, right?
Yeah.
In essence, we only used one Q8 to drive the whole show. The other one was just really a backup. So they weren't running congruently. It was an individual Q8 that was running that show. We did have the second one there in case, but we never had to use it. So it did run off one single Q8.
And I remember Norman mentioned that you also use the P series, P20, and also U5 for the aux, right? In front
Yeah,
of the
that
main
was,
stage is like Q8, it was U5 Pro.
Yep. Yeah. So some of the other rooms, not where we had a couple P20s and U5s on site with us.
Got it. So basically, the main stage, the big stage, is just one Q8, and also one Q8 for backup, and also the U5 Pro to manage the whole thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is pretty spectacular because this, in retrospect, would have easily been, I don't know, 7, 8 E2s, Jeff, if we're talking through it.
More than I've ever stacked.
Yeah. It would be.
I would imagine that the connection, the cables would be much less, right?
It was far less cabling for the
Q8
than it would have been for an
Q8 made it very clean.
Yeah. So what do you think of this setup?
I thought it was great. I thought it performed really well. There was only a few minor hiccups while we were there, and Roy fixed them right while we were sat there, or basically went home and built software to fix them. But they weren't even performance issues really. It was more or less me managing the multi-view and and trying to do it too quickly or move things around too quickly. But it was, I mean, minutes spent troubleshooting as opposed to any extended amount of time.
Time is money.
Yeah, time is money.
And like I said, Roy, there was no problem that occurred that Roy didn't immediately know how to fix or how to either right there on site or back in the shop.
The direct support is huge. It's like when you do shows of that caliber, just having direct support helps so much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was the first show I'd ever done, and I didn't know Roy, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who was with you, Roy.
It's Brad.
Brad, yeah.
Right.
It was very relieved to see the both of them standing there, just in case.
So as a product manager of the U5 Pro and Q8, do you want to ask any questions?
Yeah, and actually, I'd like to ask something about our software, and I'd like to ask Jeff, how long did it take to learn the Pixelhue software?
Yeah. You guys were saying time is money, and it definitely saved time when it came to taking all the inputs that I had coming to the Q8, taking them in natively, not having to convert lots of different signals. It's almost too simple sometimes when you feel like you're forgetting something. When you've taken all the LED processor inputs into the Q8, taken all the D3 processors into the Q8, maybe a few prompter things, a couple playback machines, and then that's about it. You're not really throwing in a bunch of conversion, a bunch of decimators to get the signal to talk to the machine. It honestly just sees what you're sending it, and you can distribute that as you like.
Did you have any HTTP issues?
And not a single one.
Nice.
I'd like to ask some questions for you, Norman. What challenges did you encounter, and how did Pixel products help you to, in overcoming these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest ones were, centered around just the physical gear. And when you were talking about so much LED and so much real estate, that processing all of it turns into, an issue very quickly. So just looking at how big the producers were kind of designing the show and where they were taking it, we really needed a very powerful engine. We really needed something that could drive, I think, the 11 4Ks for the LED wall, and then the 7 or 8 downstage monitors and timers that we had, plus being able to capture all the records and just all the signal flow management, that has to happen, from disguise to playback pro machines to the engineering for cameras, and then to all of the LED processors. So you have to have a really strong core in order to do that, and then also just being able to run less conversions, like Jeff was saying, like not having to put decimators in line, not having to put Terranexes or anything like that, so that we can keep everything native and keep our system latency down. And reliability is very important on corporate. We don't want to have to put in the converters, because then we run into issues with, this converter doesn't do 4K 60, or this one has an issue. It's only doing 420 instead of 444, and so color space turns into an issue, and just making the handshakes work always can be a pain point on site, especially when you're talking about 16 4Ks just out of disguise, and then another couple of 4Ks coming in from Camera World, and then you've got some graphics laptops and prompter. It's a lot of spigots that you have to hit, and so keeping everything clean, keeping everything coming in natively to the system with available I/O, it goes a long way. And then being able to I think have the real estate of programming. The show was entirely programmed on site. I think Jeff took maybe, I don't know, a couple hours to program the entire show. It really, from a standing of a delivery of, getting a show of this caliber to execute in a couple hours is pretty impressive. So just having, the gear that's reliable is very important. Logistically, there's always like labor issues. You're dealing with union crews, and also just you have 30, 40 techs on hand and so making sure everyone's appropriately working through the system chain for signal flow, for power, et cetera, so that no one's stepping on anyone's toes, essentially. So that's kind of like the overall consensus on like here's like the major things that we need to talk through and work through. But we solved a lot of these problems this past year by jumping in with Pixelhue and going all in with it, just because I would say our workbox decimator count that we use keeps going down, and that's awesome because our 2021 fiscal budget, I think we were trying to purchase 150 decimators to put in every workbox because every monitor needed to be converted, and now we don't convert on the monitor. They take 12G SDI directly in with the Pantech cards. We were having to put decimators in line between our Panasonic 400s and 410s, and then our Blackmagic devices, and everything was being converted. And even on the E2 side, we were converting. And so now we've simplified our setup. We've gone with a Rolls-Royce of an engine, and so we don't have to worry about throwing in converters and having to adjust anything. It's just natively there. You can plug in whatever you want and see it on the U5 Pro, and off we go to creating our custom pips and layouts and all of the presets that a producer could ever wish for, so that we can kind of deliver a high quality show with seamless integration between all of our hardware.
Wow, sounds like so difficult and complex, and I'm glad we overcoming these challenges. In general, how has the client feedback been regarding the Pixel products? Norman?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, everyone's very happy, right? I mean, just when you walk into a room and you see so much LED, right, so much real estate, and it's all seamless, because nothing that, Jeff, we didn't scale anything from
I didn't scale a single thing, no.
a disguise. Yeah, so natively seeing content left to right in the room, just fully filling, the Philadelphia Convention Center, just makes it look amazing. You get that wow factor from floor to ceiling LED, and these really nice big IMAX screens. So it just looks really nice as soon as you walk in the door. So I mean, everyone, like, no one said, hey, I couldn't see someone from the back of the room. It's like it was designed and built in a way where you have equity in terms of real estate for any one person sitting anywhere in the room. So you could see IMAG, you could see content, and the way it was designed kind of just kind of worked for the whole room. So yeah.
So, as everyone was talking about this big, huge show like NAA itself, I believe, even though I've never been to part of this show, I would be very glad or honored to be part of this in the future, maybe one time in the future. I would say can be a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions between all different teams, like video, audio, everyone, LED, everyone will be together. So even just for the video part, I think there's a lot of discussions and meetings, collaborations between M2 and Pixel teams together, right?